All right, good morning everyone and welcome to our Sea Otter Feed. My name is Katie and I'm talking to you from inside the exhibit. And as you can see, we do have 4 sea otters here, so I'll get started with the introduction. Starting on the far left-hand side of the habitat, we have Mojo. Mojo is a 2-year-old northern sea otter that was rescued off the coast of Alaska. And he was found with some injuries to his head and jaw that indicated he most likely had a run-in with a boat propeller. So due to his young age and the extent of his injuries, he was deemed unreleasable, so now he stays here at the aquarium with us. Continuing around out by the front window, we have Judge. He's a 12-year-old southern sea otter that was rescued off the coast of California, and he was actually found as an orphaned pup. So he was rescued at a very young age, taken back to Monterey Bay Aquarium, and entered into their surrogate mother program. Now what that program does is they take in those stranded otter pups and put them in with the adult females there, and they treat them as if they were their own pup. So they teach them how to groom their fur and how to properly forage for food. So once Judge learned how to do all of those necessary skills, they did attempt to release him several different times. However, all of his releases were unsuccessful, and his last release he even managed to navigate all the way back to Monterey Bay Aquarium looking for food from humans. So due to that human dependency, he was deemed unreleasable as well. Over here, up on the rock next to me, we have our oldest and largest sea otter. His name is Ayalik, and he's a 14-year-old northern sea otter that was also rescued off the coast of Alaska. And he was also orphaned, just like Judge. However, his upbringing was a little different. He was taught all of his otter skills from humans. They had to towel dry his fur to teach him how to groom himself. They also had to teach him how to properly forage for his food. So due to all of that human interaction growing up, he was unreleasable as well. And our final otter, the newest addition to the family, he's also the youngest, and his name is Schuster. He's over on the far right-hand side of the exhibit, and he just turned 1 year old. He is a southern sea otter that was also rescued off the coast of California, and he was found with some injuries to his side that indicated he had an encounter with a shark. Now, sharks are a predator for these animals out in the wild, so due to the extent of his injuries and his young age, he also was unreleasable, so that makes up our family of 4 otters here. Now, you may have noticed that I mentioned all 4 of our otters are males, and this is a unique population under human care. Most other facilities house either all female populations or a population of females with only 1 male, and this is due to the fact that male sea otters are very territorial. But our exhibit here is designed with lots of shallow pools and alcoves. That way each otter can have their own individual territory, and they have enough space to get away from one another if they need to. Now, sea otters are one of the smallest of the marine mammals. However, they do not have a layer of blubber to keep them warm in the water. Instead, they have some special adaptations that do that for them. And one of those adaptations is that they have a really thick coat of fur. So if you hold up your hand and make an OK sign, you can actually fit 1 million sea otter furs into that little circle. So to put that into perspective, a human head only has 100,000 hairs, so you'd have to put 10 heads of human hair into the same circle to get the density of a sea otter fur coat. Now, another way they stay warm in the chilly water is by having a really high metabolism. A sea otter eats 25% of their body weight every day just to keep up with it. So again, putting that in human terms, that would be like a 100-pound person eating 100 quarter-pounders every day. And that is a lot of food. Now, the food that we feed our animals here is all restaurant-quality seafood, and it's frozen before we feed it to them, so that way we can be sure any bacteria living on it is killed before it's fed out. And our sea otters get a nice mixture of 2 different types of clam, shrimp, squid, and crab, which you'll see at the end of the session. But one of their favorite things to eat out in the wild are sea urchins, and that's what makes them a keystone species. In the early 1900s, the sea otters were hunted to the brink of extinction due to the people wanting those nice thick fur coats. And they noticed that as the otter population started to decline, so did the kelp forests that they were living in. And that's because those sea urchins that the otters eat those kelp forests. So without the otters around to protect them and keep the population in check, the sea urchin population took over and mowed down all of those kelp forests. But today the sea otters are under the protection of the Marine Mammal Protection Act. So we've begun to see some populations reestablished off the coast of California. Canada, Alaska, Russia, and Washington. But you'll notice that Oregon was not in the list of places you can find a resident otter population. And unfortunately, we have not been able to reestablish one off of our coast. But there are a few things we can do to hopefully help out with that. And the main one is to reduce, reuse, and recycle. And I'm sure that's something you guys hear all the time, but a little bit does go a long way for these animals. Young otter pups, when they're first learning how to forage for their own food, will often come back to the surface holding on to pieces of garbage, thinking that it's good food for them to eat. So if we make sure that we keep those beaches clean and recycle properly, then we can be sure that they're getting the proper food rather than accidentally eating pieces of garbage. Also, if you change your own oil at home, make sure that oil gets disposed of properly. If any of it ends up into the ocean, it can get stuck in the sea otter's fur, and it will mat down that fur coat, taking away that insulation, so they can actually get hypothermia from getting too cold in that water. So as our trainers wrap up the session today, we do want to thank you for joining us here. Some of your admission dollars go towards helping feed these animals, and our largest otter, Ayalik, last year ate $17,000 worth of restaurant quality seafood, and that's just for one animal. So every penny definitely helps out here. It's a beautiful day today, so enjoy the rest of the sunshine. We'll also be feeding the sea lions at 11 o'clock, so check that out as well. And enjoy the rest of your visit to the Oregon Coast Aquarium. Thank you.